Okay, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. The regular meeting of the St. Joseph County Council, February 9th, 2021 is now called to order. Mr. Nolan?
Here.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Here.
Mr. Catanzarite?
Here.
Mr. Canaricki?
Here.
Ms. Hess?
Here.
Mr. File?
Here.
Mr. Taloyan?
Here.
Mr. Root?
Here.
Mr. Morton is here. Okay. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
To
the
the
republic
republic for which it
One
stands,
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Next on the agenda are first readings. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to first readings, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 12th, 2021 public meeting?
Move.
Or a second?
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The minutes from the January 12th public hearing are approved. Next, we have first readings. Clerk, will you please read bill number 1621?
Mr. Hammond?
Oh, see, somebody muted me, and it wasn't my wife. So, okay, guys, ready? 1621, an ordinance amending and supplementing Title 15, Land Uses, Chapter 154, Planning and Zoning of the St. Joseph County Code is amended for property located at 52694 State Road 933 from R Single Family District to C Commercial District.
But it's not.
Petitioner is DEV 52694 State Road 933 LLC.
Bill number 1621 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Bill 1721, an ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council providing a COVID-19 hazard pay stipend to 2020 general election workers. Petitioners Diana Hess and Joseph Canaricki.
Bill number 1721 is assigned to the Human Services Criminal Justice Committee. That concludes first readings for this evening. Next on the agenda, we have resolution bill number 821. Clerk, will you please read the bill?
A resolution of the St. Joseph County Council of Indiana approving and authorizing certain actions and proceedings with respect to certain proposed economic development revenue bonds and related matters. Petitioner Economic Development.
Petitioner?
Mr. President, members of the council, Bill Shalio with the Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, here before you tonight to speak on the inducement resolution bill number 8-21. We had a discussion about this project at the committee meeting, but just as a bit of a refresher, Flaherty and Collins out of Indianapolis is working with Ice Miller, a local legal firm out of Indianapolis, to put together project financing to make improvements at the Emerald Point apartment project at 53880 Generations Drive. This is a great opportunity to upgrade this existing housing project, give it new life, move it forward. But the first step in the process is the step today where we ask for your approval on this inducement resolution. Once this is approved, then it goes through a whole series of steps with the Economic Development Commission, and then we'll allow for moving forward with this project. If there's any questions, there are members of the project team on this call, and either I or they would be happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on bill number 821. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill 821. May I have a motion on the bill?
For approval. Second.
Who made, was that Mr. Canaricki?
Tanzarite on the motion.
Catanzarite, okay, sorry. The motion to pass bill number 821 was made by Councilman Catanzarite, and it was seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further comments from any council member on bill number 8-21? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
yes,
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kanareki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 8-21 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next, we have salary amendments. Clerk, will you please read bill number 1121?
1121, it's an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees in St. Joseph County for the year 2021 petitioner auditor. This is, as I mentioned before, Susan Bybee is moving toward retirement, and instead of retiring this month, she agreed to stay on for a few months and to help train the next person, will be Patty Henry, in payroll, and then to assist with implementation of parts of the ERP program once, and help with accounts payable once Katie Bishop goes on maternity leave in June.
I love you. Let me see. So you have a
That's all I
bill-
have. I don't know what's going on out there with folks, but that's all I got, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Hess, committee report, please.
Mr. President, bill number 1121 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions from council for Mr. Hammond? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 1121. Does anyone wish to address the council in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill 1121. Do I hear a motion?
Motion for passage.
Do I hear a
Second.
second?
Second,
Motion to pass bill number 1121 was made by Councilman Catanzarite. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further comments from any council member on 1121?
Right.
Okay, awesome.
Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
yes,
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kanareki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
and Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 1121 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 1221?
1221, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner Corner.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner? Petitioner? Is there anyone from the coroner's office on the call? Do I hear a motion?
Move to send it back to committee.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Not unless she shows up or something.
Pardon?
Not unless she shows up like we've had happen before.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Bill number 1221 goes back to committee. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 1321?
1321, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner adult probation.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please.
President Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Good evening, Council. Jesse Carlton with St. Joseph County Adult Probation Department. Office is located on the 4th floor of the County City Building. I come to you this evening requesting approval to appropriate and amend the funds that we received from the Indiana Department of Corrections. These are grant funds, and this just sets the salaries and benefits and everything for those positions that we have received from DOC. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from
those?
council for Mr. Carlton? Hearing none, we will now open a public hearing on bill number 1321. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill?
Up to you. You want this?
Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. May I have a motion on bill 1321?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 1321 was made by Councilwoman Hess and it was seconded by Councilman Canna-Ricky. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 1321 was passed by a unanimous vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 1421?
An ordinance amending ordinance 7620, same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner auditor.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please.
President Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Good evening. This is John Murphy, Chief Deputy Auditor. This salary ordinance amends, it's in relationship to the COVID fund reappropriation ordinance that we talked about at the committee meeting. This salary ordinance reinstates for 2021 the same terms as the 2020 salary ordinance as far as a part-time housekeeper at Portage Manor, quality controller, a nurse, and isolation pay in those at Portage Manor. So the rates have not changed. It's still the same it's still the same dollar amount, but we've just updated the 2021 salary ordinance. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from council for Mr. Murphy? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 1421. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill 1421. Do I hear a motion?
For approval.
Do I hear a second? A motion to pass bill number 1421 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilman Canaricki. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Dinah Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 1421 was passed by a vote of 9-0. I believe Dr. Jordan from the coroner's office is calling in for bill 1221.
Mr. Morton?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan, do you want to?
Mr. Morton,
Yes.
I make a motion, we take Bill 1221 out of committee here tonight.
Do I hear a
Second.
second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to take bill 1221 out of committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Dr. Jordan?
Yes. My apologies. Are you still there?
Yes, go ahead.
My apologies. I was just motioning or hoping that you guys would go through with the changing of the salaries of the two coroners to deputy, for my chief deputy coroners, and then that we spoke last time, and change basically there's not going to be any increase in monies. It's just moving them to the two chief coroners and then the two deputy coroners.
Any questions from council for Dr. Jordan? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 1221. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill 1221. Do I hear a motion?
For approval.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Motion to pass bill number 1221 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further discussion from council on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 1221 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next on the agenda, we have public hearing and public comment on fiscal matters. All financial issues were heard and discussed at our January 26th, 2021 committee meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Clerk, will you please read bill number 921?
An ordinance appropriating and transferring monies for the purposes herein specified for the several departments herein listed of St. Joseph County government.
May I have a motion on bill 921?
For approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass bill number 921 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneracki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
No.
no. Mr. Kaczynski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Haas,
yes,
Mr. Taloyan, Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1, if I heard that
Thank you.
correctly.
Let the record show that bill number 921 was passed by a vote of 8-1. Next, we have under land use planning, we have bill number 121. Mr. Nolan, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, bill number 1-21 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you.
This is Ryan Fellows with the Area Plan Commission. May I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, these are the same slides that you saw during the committee, so there's really not anything changed. But for the alley vacation, I'm gonna let Abby take that. I believe Abby Wiles, the executive director, is on and available right now.
Yes, I apologize. This is Abby. I'm having an issue with my camera. I might have to take myself off and just speak. But this property, the alley vacation is located at the property where the Kreider Vet Clinic is located. Well, soon to be former Kreider Vet Clinic. There's 4 criteria that staff needs to, and the council needs to consider when looking at an alley vacation. The first is that the vacation would not hinder growth or development. The county has no intention of improving this right of way, and access to State Road 23 would not be permitted at this location as it would threaten public safety. The vacation would not make access to the lands of the aggrieved person by means of public way difficult or inconvenient. It's not being used for access purposes, and there's no plans to do so. It wouldn't hinder access to the public's access to a church, school, or other public building. It doesn't currently provide access to any one of these places, and it's not anticipated that it ever would. And that the vacation would not hinder the use of a public way by the neighborhood in which it's located. Again, there's no intent to improve the alley. Access State Road 23 would not be permitted, and Main Street already provides adequate connection. So staff has reviewed the alley vacation request and asks for the council's favorable consideration and approval.
Thank you. Any questions from council for area plan? Petitioner?
My name is Terry Lang from Lang, Feeney and Associates, address 715 South Michigan Street in South Bend. I represent the petitioner. Area Planning Commission staff has summed up the alley vacation very well. Our property owner that we're working with is the recent purchaser of the former Kreider Veterinary Clinic and also owns the property on the east side of said alley and desires to vacate it. It's never been improved. And like the staff said, it would create a hazard for access to State Road 23 that close to the intersection there.
Counsel for the petitioner? Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on bill number 121. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing on bill number 121. Do I hear a motion on the bill?
Motion for passage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 121 was made by Councilman Catanzarite. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further council discussion? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan, Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Morton,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 121 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 4-21?
An ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council amending Title 15, Chapter 154, Land Usage of St. Joseph County Code by amending sections 154.478 to amend controlled uses and adult uses by revising the list of uses in adult business is not permitted to be located within 500 feet of petitioner area plan commission.
Mr. Nolan, committee report, please.
Mr. President, Bill number 4-21 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Area plan?
Good evening, Ryan Fellows again. And this is something we already discussed in committee, so I won't belabor it, but it's simply to update the list of uses that an adult business may not be located within 500 feet of. When the city of South Bend updated their zoning book, they removed a bunch of zoning district names that we were referencing in our code book. And so if there isn't a new adult business that's to be located, we want to make sure that it is located outside of that 500 feet within, so that the things that are closer couldn't be closer to residential uses and similar uses. And so this just seeks to update the code book to have the same purpose that was intended. It doesn't seek to do any other change, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or go into any more detail.
Any questions from council for area plan? Thank you. Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on Bill number 421. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing on Bill number 421 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 421 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Kennerecki. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 421 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 117-20?
An ordinance amending and supplementing Title 4, Land Usage, Chapter 154, Planning and Zoning of the St. Joseph County Code is amended for property located at 13644 McKinley Highway from C Commercial District Site Plan Specific to C Commercial District Not Site Plan Specific. Petitioner Horizon Blue Investment. C.
Mr. Nolan, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, Bill number 117-20 comes to the full council with a without a recommendation.
Thank you very much. Area plan?
Yes, again, this is Ryan Fellows with Area Plan. And as we discussed in committee, I won't go over it in much detail unless we have questions, but This is near the corner of Current and McKinley. This is what used to be the Mann's Corvette. As you can see, the current zoning, as discussed, is C commercial district, but it is site plan specific to that one use. And the application seeks to unhinge that connection, unlock that connection so that it could be used for any C commercial purpose. Across the road is the industrial district. To the west is a vacant lot owned by Penn Harris Schools. And then just beside that lot is the creek. And then after that is the fire station. And then to the south are single family homes. And we went over some detail about what the commercial district includes, what kind of uses might happen there. And we also reviewed what the required setbacks are, what the existing setbacks are, and if there were to be some improvement to the building or some addition that might necessitate, that would necessitate a site plan review, then we would review the situation in plan review and then make them compliant with any code requirements needed. Here's a picture of the property looking to the south. The front setback is 125 feet plus or minus. And this is on the back of the property where you can see how far back it is from the existing single family homes, which is plus or minus 60 feet right now. And then looking to the east along that same back line where the homes are, again, plus or minus 60 feet. Whereas the existing Mann's Corvette, which was site plan, which was approved in 2000. And the new site plan that's submitted is just the existing site. No changes are presented at this time. And just flipping back to the code book to review what full landscaping would look like if there were to be improvement, then this would give us an opportunity to put these improvements in place, which right now with the existing site plan, they're not required to have right now. And then we reviewed what the requirements are for lighting, if there were those improvements, what those would be. And then this is the dumpster that's on site right now. Again, the existing site plan does not have an enclosure required, but if they were to make any improvements to the site, then enclosure would be required to those standards. And then continuing on with, if there were to be any kind of new signs, those would require a new sign permit and they would have to follow those standards. And then we discussed a little bit about Willow Creek and what the distance is, and it is indeed downhill towards the creek bank. And there's just kind of a better overall view where you can kind of see the creek a little bit closer. And there was a question about what would hazardous material storage, what would happen with that. The building department would inspect the storage for chemicals or hazardous materials as part of an inspection for new construction, a rehab, or an addition project prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued. And then any subsequent inspections would be completed by the applicable fire department. And this comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Area Plan Commission, and we reviewed that this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And then looking at the land use plan in particular, there's the Mishawaka Capitol Avenue corridor plan, which does contemplate this area for commercial use, and then on to the rest of the criteria. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council for area plan? Thank you. Petitioner?
Hello, my name is Michael Courier of Jones, Peachtree, Afinsky, 325 South Lafayette, South Bend, Indiana. I'm here representing my client today. I have had further discussion with them based upon our previous meetings, and they are willing to remove some of the uses that are allowed in C. There's 7 of them to be exact. Would be number 16 on the list would be a butcher. Number 23 on the list is crematory. Number 24, dry cleaning. Number 27, exterminator shop. Number 30, a gas station. Number 51, pawn shop. And number 72, tavern. It is with these conditions that they are asking for your vote to approve this rezone.
Thank you. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 117-20. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill number 117-20. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Morton.
Mr.
Motion for
Catanzaro,
passage. Motion for passage.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 117-20 was made by Councilman Catanzaro. It was seconded by Councilman Canna-Ricky. Any further comments from any council member on bill 117-20?
Mr. Morton.
Mr. Catanzaro?
I just want to thank Mr. Courier from Jones, Petrie Rufinski, and thank his client for the willingness to be able to exempt those 7 different uses, and they've been great to work with. And again, in the conversation I've had since our last meeting with the Penn Township trustee, she couldn't be here tonight. She too is appreciative of those restrictions that they've agreed to, and I fully support this rezoning to C commercial to allow the other uses with the exception of the 7 that Mr. Courier mentioned.
Hi,
Thank
this is Abby with Area Plan. I just want to confirm, I believe, and I could be wrong, but that the motion that was made was motion to accept, but I didn't hear that the commitments were attached to the request. Is the intent to include the commitment that those 7 uses would be prohibited?
Yeah,
I
that's
can-
the intent.
Would you like me to amend my motion, Mr. Morton?
Yes.
I'd like to amend my
Thank you.
motion previously stated to ask that we amend Bill, I forgot the numbers, at 117-20?
117-20.
Yeah, I'd like to amend Bills 117-20 and to omit the uses that Mr. Courier just agreed to. And I would amend the bill to include those omitted uses on that property.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it on the amendment. So I'll ask for a motion for bill number 117-20 as amended.
So
Do I
moved.
hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass bill number 117-20 as amended was made by Councilman Catanzaro and was seconded by Councilman Canna-Ricky. Any further comments from any council member on bill 117-20 as amended? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzaro,
Yes.
Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 117-20 as amended was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next, under miscellaneous, we have bill number 1521. Clerk, will you please read the bill?
An ordinance appropriating monies for the purpose herein specified. Petitioner New Carlisle, Olive Township Public Library.
Ms. Hess, committee report.
Mr. President, Bill 1521 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Hi, it's Stephanie Murphy from New Carlisle Public Library, 408 South Bray in New Carlisle, and we're requesting the council's approval of this appropriation to correct the error in our budget, which we believe was caused by a glitch in the Gateway budget software. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 1521. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill number 1521. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 1521 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further council discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. File.
Aye.
Ms. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan.
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite.
Yes.
Mr. Kanaraki.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski.
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 1521 was passed by a vote of 9-0. That ends public hearing as far as our bills for tonight. Next, we have unfinished business.
Mr. President,
Mr. Nolan.
could be considered unfinished or new business, I guess, but we can take care of it here is, I'm sure everyone recalls quite vividly, a year ago at this time, we passed a resolution, I guess, in favor of the guaranteed energy savings program and the manager and the energy manager that we put in place, and asking all the departments of the county to kind of help facilitate what they're trying to do there. Problem is that right after we did that, COVID pandemic, that never really got ushered out to the departments. They never were really presented with this resolution that the council supported. We never got it to the commissioners to get them to sign on as well. I'd like to pick that ball up. We've got this energy manager on the payroll here. I guess not really the payroll, but he's part of the energy savings project. We've got him for a little time left. I'd like to send this to the commissioners, get their official approval, and then get it out to all the department heads and try to get the most we can, biggest bang we can for our buck with the time we have left with this energy manager, and get people's kind of get their habits back when they get back into the building here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, right, Frank? Get their habits back to where they should be and move forward with this program. So I just kind of like, if anybody has an issue with that, I guess speak now, or I'm going to send it along and ask them to do just that.
Mr. Morton.
Mr. Catanzarite.
Mr. Nolan, I wasn't quite clear on what I know you mentioned COVID and the change up of the project manager. What was it we're going to make the ask of for the commissioners?
February of 2020, we approved resolution 1320, basically saying that the council supports this, and the 10-page document that we got about all of the habits that we want to see change and things like that. But it never went anywhere after we sat here and everybody in this room heard that we approved it, and that's kind of the end of it. We need to get that distributed out to the department heads, is my thoughts.
Is Mr. Jors still our project manager, the energy savings czar, so to say?
Is he on the call?
No, I'm asking you, is Mr. Jors still the
Yes.
person? Okay. Bob Jors?
Last I knew.
Okay. Just wondered. I know we had met him at a meeting 1 or 2 months ago. I just was curious if he's still.
They came to me and asked me kind of what was the status of this, and we need to move forward. And some of the department heads, he goes in there and they don't really. It's not. I don't want to make it sound worse than it is. It's not that he's getting a lot of pushback, but he's getting people like, who are you? Why are we doing this? What's this about? I think if he had a document that the council and the commissioners have signed off on and said that, yes, we are fully on board with implementing this project and we want to get this going as fast as possible, I think it's going to open a lot more doors than what is currently happening.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. And also wanted to thank you for getting us an update on the ERP progress too. Thanks for doing that. You sent that out to us this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan.
You're so welcome. But can we get, just so I'm not going rogue here, can we get some kind of thumbs up or something? Yes.
All in favor of moving
Aye.
forward with Mr. Nolan's
Aye.
proposal?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Nolan?
One other item, this probably is actually new business though, but I wanted to remind the auditor's office, I guess the time of year we need to be taking a look at our cum cap development funding. Is that in the plans or in the works, or you've already done it and decided we don't need to do anything?
May I respond, Councilman? This is Steve Dalton, and the auditor has asked me to look at calculation and report back to him yet this week. So I have a couple days left to give him that response.
That's unacceptable. Thank you.
Isn't it the case, Steve, preliminarily, it looks like they might not have moved very much at all? At least
That is my initial comment to you, and I was going to put that in writing to you, Mike. It came down less than 1/10 of 1 penny.
All right, so when we get the hard numbers, we'll get it to them and they can make a decision. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Under new business, Mr. Murphy, we have acknowledgement of the 2020 outstanding purchase orders.
Right, this is John Murphy. A few years ago, Steve reminded us that we needed to provide the county council with a list of outstanding purchase orders at the end of the year. And so we've sent that out to you. I'm sure that you received it. It was a PDF document of 63 pages. The total amount of purchase orders outstanding is $10,111,940. Typically, purchase orders are for larger capital projects and also can be for smaller operating costs where the invoice may have come in after the end of the year. Happy to answer any questions regarding that report.
Any questions from council for Mr. Murphy on the 2020 outstanding purchase orders?
More of a procedural question maybe, but so we need to acknowledge the outstanding purchase orders, but we don't have to acknowledge the average or the below average purchase orders?
Right.
That took a while.
Well played.
That's bad. That's bad.
Nothing further.
Any other comments? Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Morton.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Morton. I'm
Yes.
opposed. I wanted to catch you under unfinished business, or I'm sorry, new business. And I know you sent out an email last Friday about the proposed Senate Bill 164 for the innkeeper's tax increase that the Indiana State Senate is hearing today for the first time. And you probably didn't have time to respond. I sent another email back out to you tonight. My question to you was, would our meeting on the 25th of February and subsequent vote in March be a little, so to say, too late to the party in terms of showing support for that resolution?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Katandri.
Well, I was curious because I know the Senate has a deadline of February 22nd. That's their deadline for reading of bills for the third time. So that's their deadline. And I don't know if our resolution would be beneficial to them prior to that point or prior to them deciding whether or not to go forward with it. That was my question.
Okay,
I know
well-
that's what my understanding.
Okay, I guess there's some confusion on my part or miscommunication, maybe I'll say, because I did respond to your email. You didn't see
I saw your responses. I didn't know if I got a chance to talk about the one tonight, but my question's more about, I know we've got Rob coming on the 25th. Is there any need or necessity for us to consider that bill before the 25th is my question.
Okay, there again, there may be some miscommunication or misunderstanding on my part. And if so, I will apologize in advance. But I did have this conversation with Mr. DeClean as far as the timing of this. And I'm not going to say specifically as far as the letter of support, but at the same time, I believe that was part of our conversation. And I particularly asked him if he comes and gives us a detailed overview of, maybe the possible distribution, how everything is going to move forward. If the bill is passed, because as everyone knows, if it passes downstate, then we are the ones who decide ultimately what the increase would be. I believe 7 or up to 8%. So my understanding was that if he comes on in our February committee meeting and we vote in March, then that would be fine, because I made it a point to ask him that. But as far as how that has to do with the letter of support, I guess I'm going to say I'm not sure. But like I said, the main thing is I wanted to make sure that I asked him about the letter. Because now, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, I did ask him about the letter of support. So maybe he's looking at it wrong, because as far as the deadline you just gave, because now that I think about it, I asked him, I said, well, hey, as far as this letter of support is concerned, because I talked to Jennifer about it, and my concern was getting this out and each council person not having enough time and or enough understanding as far as all the detailed information of this bill. And that's when I called and asked him that, and he said, no, it should be fine if he came in February and we voted in March.
Okay. I just want to make sure, again, we have the proper timeliness of it, so we're not losing the effect of our support if we decide to give it support. That was what my question centered on. So I think you've answered that.
Like I said,
I think you've answered that for me.
Like I said, I made it a point to ask him that in detail, because I shared those same concerns.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Aye.